Hi, so we're now in our HoloLens system and we're going to work around this 3D engine. Alan is going to explain some of the main components. As Alan asks for various pieces of the engine cowling to be removed, I will be controlling the experience here. So Alan and I are seeing exactly the same thing in space. So just to prove that, Alan, can you just show me where the oil filter is on the engine, please?
Okay, so we have the hot oil filter in
That's
this
right.
area.
Yeah, great. So if you could just explain and explore with us a little bit what we're looking at now, please, Alan.
Okay. So I'm at the front of the engine, which is here, and I've got the camshaft pulley with the two crankshaft pulleys at the top of the engine. I have the alternator and the belt tensioner, or that might be the water pump. We've got the oil sump, the oil filter. As I go back, we've got the exhaust manifold coming down towards the exhaust. We have the starter motor in that area. If I'm coming around again, looking back at the top, I've got the distributor cap with the ignition leads coming back into the cylinder head, and I can now see where the spark plugs are sat in the cylinder head. On this side, I've got the air intake, the air cleaner, and I've got the actual intake manifold with the rail injection system. So this is where the fuel injection system is, and that is now injecting fuel into the engine. We can see that the engine's actually turning, and I'm wondering, Steve, if you could perhaps, if I could get an internal view of the top of the engine, please.
Okay, so let's now enable some transparency. Let's first of all take off the engine block. Is that
that's the engine block? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So what we have here, Steve, now we have the camshaft running the length of the lower part of the engine. Connected to the camshaft, as you can see here, are the conrods connected to the pistons, which are going up and down in the cylinder. So the actual rotary motion of the camshaft is being converted to linear motion of the piston. At the back end of the engine, you can see the flywheel, which on the other side of that would be the gearbox, and the clutch would be in between. And we can also see the starter motor mechanism actually going around as if the starter motor was turning the engine over.
Okay.
So Steve, could we now look at the top half of the engine, please?
Okay, I'll remove the cylinder head.
Thank you. Okay, so now, as you can see, we can see the camshafts 1 and 2 with the cam lobes. They are now impinging onto the valves, inlet and outlet valves, and I can put my hand there. You can see the inlet valve opening now, and you can see the outlet valve opening now. In the middle of the valves, you can see the spark plugs. There's 4 of them, as there's a 4-cylinder engine, and this is basically how you're getting the fuel into the engine and the exhaust gases out.
Great, fantastic. Okay.
Happy?
Yeah, brilliant. Shall we take a look at some of the different tuning kits, if you want to?
Yeah, because obviously what would be very nice is when the customer asks what something looks like, they can give them a little bit of an idea of what those changes would actually look like in real life.
Yeah. Okay, so if I just pop the cylinder head back on and the engine block back on, and so we're now back to our standard configuration engine. What I'll do first of all is actually, I don't. You just tell me what this is, Alan.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So now we've got a nice performance add-on. It's just a little turbocharger there. We've got the actual turbocharger, which you can see in that area. We've got a performance air filter there, and as I come round, you've got an intercooler at the front. That's to keep the turbocharger cool, and then it's going back up into the inlet side of the engine. So the turbocharger is compressing air taken from the exhaust, pushing it back in, so it's being controlled by the exhaust, pulling in cold air, compressing it, feeding it up back into the inlet, and basically the way we get more power for the engine is if we put more air into the engine, the fuel control system will then have to put more fuel, and then you get more power. So a very easy way of actually making the car a lot quicker.
Right, okay, great. I'll try a different tuning option.
Okay. Oh, right, so now we've got some very pretty coloured cam wheels, which look very, very nice. But where we have got a main difference now is we've got a performance air filter. Again, what that will do, there's no turbocharger, so all we're doing is allowing more air to actually enter the engine, and the more air that enters the engine, the fuel control system has to add more fuel, therefore increasing the power of the engine. Very, very simple mod, very cheap mod, but probably the first thing most people would actually do to make the car a bit more powerful.
Great. Okay, and we'll try one more. Something's over here has changed, I think.
Right, okay, so now we got what are called bell mouth air intakes. This would be found on probably an older car or a racing car. So now we got no filtration at all, basically. There's just a little bit of wire inside the bell mouth. There's no air filtration, so you do run a risk of actually getting debris going into the engine, but now there's a totally free flow of air going into the fuel injection system. Again, the more air you get into the system, the more fuel is allowed to go into the system, and this would give you a significant horsepower increase over the original engine.
Great.
If you imagine, Steve, if rather than an engine situation, we had the whole car, and from the sales point of view, we want to explain to the prospective customer what add-ons we could put onto the car, whether it was different size wheels, whether it was a body kit, etc. We could be adjusting these as the customer is looking at it pretty much in real life. And not only could that be done in the showroom, that could also be done in their front garden. So the potential for sales and adding extras to the sale are endless just by using this system.
Yeah, of course, that's great, thank you. And of course you and I haven't actually left the room. We've got the engine in front of us, but we've never left the room. Yep. There's no health and safety issues around you tripping up over cables behind you, because it's a completely self-contained unit. And also I can see your body language and you can see my body language, so it's still a very natural way to be able to communicate with each other, and we can actually see each other's eyes still as well. Yeah. One of the other things that we are able to do is we can record the whole conversation like we've been doing here today, and then you can play back and analyse how did that conversation go.
So from a training point of view, Steve, what we're talking about there is the expert or the manager or the trainer being able to look at the video, play it back with the trainee and give feedback in real time.
Absolutely.
So you were standing in this position, perhaps you could have come around to the side. Instead of having your arms folded, you could have been a bit more open. Yeah, a very, very strong training possibility there.
Yeah, and we can also then augment that, the video capture that we're doing, with the capture of where your eyes are moving. So are you spending enough time looking at the pieces of the system that you're supposed to be looking at, really focusing in on the right thing?
And again, are you actually keeping that eye contact with the customer?
Yeah.
Again, something that the instructor or the trainer could feed back on. You know, you need to spend more time looking at the customer when you're talking to them. Absolutely amazing options for training.
Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Hi Lynn, I see you brought your new Mercedes G-Class into the conference centre. Very nice. So, yeah. So Lynn and I are sharing this experience at the moment. She's just walked around the back of the model, and the gentleman that I'm going to open the door for her so she can take a look inside.
Thank you very much.
No worries. So take a look inside. What do you think?
Okay, I can see it's an automatic. I see the seats and all of the dashboard information.
I'd like to take a quick look inside before you shut the door. Okay, so you can see it's a fully rendered, let's say it's a partially rendered interior. The some of the bits and pieces that would be in the real thing aren't quite there, but it's good enough for a first attempt. We've been working on this for a couple of hours now, just to bring it into scenario mainly. We've not really done any optimization on it. Done a little bit of animation, as you saw on the door, but there's still quite a lot of work to do to get this to the point where we'd be able to show this to someone who knows anything about this particular vehicle. But it does show an intent. On this side we've started to do some of the colour work that we needed. This one Simon has started to render in black, but we're actually going to go and render it in white. So that's just a bit of an experiment. So this just shows that we can, the idea is that you can take the car anywhere you like, and you can show it at a client's home or any space where the space is big enough. The kind of client that would buy this perhaps would have spaces big enough in their own garage maybe. So there we go, that's our 2 hours worth of work bringing a G-Class into Alderley Conference Centre. If you're hyper observant, you'll notice there's no engine. That's because it's floating in space somewhere else. We've not rendered the engine. Hi, it's Monday morning. We've had a couple of days of working on the Mercedes G-Class, and you can see now it's gone white. They've done some work on the graphics mainly and a bit more animation. I'm with Lynn Jones, my business development manager. Hi Lynn. So I like your new car. It's very, very nice. You managed to drive it in here okay? Great. Just walk me around it.
So I'll just take a walk around the front so I can see all of the features, and I can see that you've added some animation.
Would you like me to open the door for you? Yes, please. Just take a moment. There we go. Opening the door for you. Take a look in if you like.
Okay. So I can see the interior. I can see that it's an automatic.
You want to take a look in on the driver's side? Yeah. There you go. I've opened the door for you. Yeah, great.
That's good.
Yeah. I'll open the boot up for you as well so you can see how much boot space there is. There we go, nearly slammed that door in your face. Okay.
Right, okay, great.
All right. You like that? Yeah. All right, so that's our...
Take it, thank you.
You'll take it. That's the easy sell. That's the easiest sell ever. Okay, and we can close the doors off as well. And we can actually get rid of all the buttons. There you go, so all the buttons are now gone. So that's our Mercedes G-Class in Alderley Conference Centre, a couple of days after we were last filming.